Writing. Have you ever looked across a restaurant and noticed someone trying their hardest not to be seen? Most people never do. They are too busy with their own meals, their own conversations, their own lives. But sometimes, one small glance can change everything. One quiet evening, a man noticed a little girl staring at the food on his table. Her eyes weren't filled with jealousy. They were filled with hunger. Beside her sat her mother, trying to smile while quietly preparing to leave before anyone noticed they couldn't afford dinner. What happened next became a moment neither of them would ever forget. Before we begin, if stories like this remind you that kindness still exists in the world, please subscribe to Kindness Waves, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring more heartwarming stories that inspire people to make the world a little brighter. Now, let's begin. David Harper had just finished the grinning face or long day at work. At 52, he had learned to enjoy simple things. A quiet dinner at his favorite neighborhood restaurant was one of them. The place wasn't fancy, but it was warm, welcoming, and filled with familiar faces. He ordered grilled chicken, mashed potatoes, fresh vegetables, and a slice of apple pie for dessert. As he waited, he watched people around him laughing with friends and family. Then the front door opened. A young woman stepped inside holding the hand of a little girl who looked about 6 years old. The mother wore a faded blue sweater, and her shoes showed signs of many long walks. The little girl had 2 messy pigtails and carried a small stuffed rabbit with one missing ear. A waitress greeted them with a smile and led them to a table near the window. The little girl looked around with excitement. It was obvious she didn't get to eat out very often. They shared a menu. After several minutes, the mother quietly asked if they could have one bowl of soup and a glass of water with 2 empty cups. The waitress nodded kindly without making them feel uncomfortable. David couldn't help noticing, sonrisa de boca abierta. The soup arrived, and the mother carefully divided it between the 2 cups. She pushed the larger portion toward her daughter. "I'm not very hungry," she whispered with a smile. The little girl believed her. As David's own dinner arrived, the smell of fresh food filled the room. Without meaning to, the little girl glanced at his plate. She looked away almost immediately, embarrassed that anyone might notice. But David had noticed. Not the look of envy. The look of someone wondering what a full meal might taste like. A few minutes later, the mother quietly reached into her purse. She counted a few dollar bills and some loose coins. Her face changed. She counted again. She was short. Only by a few dollars. She looked down, closed her purse, and gently touched her daughter's shoulder, grinning face with smiling eyes. "Sweetheart," she whispered, "let's go. But, we haven't finished. We'll come back another time." The little girl didn't argue. She simply nodded, picked up her stuffed rabbit, and slowly stood. David couldn't stay silent. He walked over with his plate in his hands. "Excuse me," he said with a friendly smile. "I made a mistake." The mother looked confused. "They gave me far more food than I can eat. Would you help me by taking some before it goes to waste?" Her cheeks immediately turned red. "Oh, we couldn't. You'd actually be doing me a favor," David replied. "My doctor keeps telling me I should eat smaller meals." The little girl looked hopefully at her mother. After a long pause, she quietly nodded. David placed the plate in front of the little girl. Her eyes became as bright as Christmas morning. "Really? Really?" She picked up her fork carefully, almost afraid the food might disappear. Her first bite was slow, sonrisa dental con ojos felices. Then came the biggest smile David had seen in years. "It's so good," she whispered. Her mother wiped away a tear. David returned to his table before either of them felt embarrassed. A few moments later, he quietly asked the waitress for another full dinner, dessert, and 2 lemonades. "And please," he said softly, "put everything on my bill." The waitress smiled. "I was hoping someone would notice them." When the second meal arrived, the mother tried to refuse. "I can't accept this." The waitress simply smiled. It's already taken care of. The young woman looked across the room. David gave her a small wave but quickly looked back at his own table. He wanted kindness to feel normal, not like a performance. As they finished eating, the little girl walked over holding her stuffed rabbit. Mister, sonrisa abierta con ojos apretados. David smiled. Yes. My name is Lily. That's a beautiful name. She hugged her rabbit tightly. When I grow up, I want to buy dinners for people too. David felt a lump in his throat. I think you're going to do exactly that. Her mother finally introduced herself as Emily. She explained that she had recently lost her job after the company she worked for closed without warning. Rent had taken nearly everything she had. She had promised Lily one special dinner after a difficult week, believing she had enough money. She hadn't expected prices to be higher. I didn't want her to know, Emily said quietly. David nodded with understanding. Every family needs a little help sometimes. Before leaving, he handed Emily a small business card. I know someone who's hiring office assistants. Call this number tomorrow morning. Tell them David sent you. Emily looked surprised. You'd do that? I've worked with them for years. They're looking for honest people, sonrisa de boca abierta y sudando frío. The next morning, Emily called. 3 days later, she had an interview. By the following week, she had a full-time job with health benefits and a steady paycheck. Months passed. Life became easier. Lily started smiling more often. She even packed extra snacks in her backpack because, as she explained, someone at school might forget their lunch. One rainy afternoon, David returned to the same restaurant. As he reached for the check, the waitress smiled. It's already been paid. He looked around, confused. Near the entrance stood Emily and Lily. Emily waved. You helped us when you thought we'd never see each other again. David laughed. You didn't have to. Emily smiled. Maybe not. But kindness has a way of coming back. Lily walked over carrying a slice of apple pie. I remember this was your favorite, sonrisa de boca abierta y sudando frío. David couldn't stop smiling. For a moment, the restaurant felt warmer than ever. He realized that the greatest gift isn't receiving kindness. It's watching kindness grow inside someone else. One simple meal had become a new beginning. One small act had changed 3 lives. And perhaps many more. Because Lily would never forget that evening. She would grow up believing that strangers could become blessings. She would teach her own children that generosity doesn't always begin with wealth. Sometimes it begins with simply paying attention. As David left the restaurant, he looked back one last time. Emily and Lily were laughing together. The fear that had once filled their faces was gone. In its place was hope. And hope is one of the greatest gifts kindness can ever give. If this story touched your heart, remember this, you never know what someone beside you is carrying. A smile, a meal, a kind word, or a helping hand may seem small to you, but to someone else, it could be the moment that changes their entire life. Be the reason someone believes in kindness again, because every wave of kindness begins with one caring heart.